It's where real expansion of your mind and talents can be found. Turn out of the rat race and its square problems, and tune in on real self-knowledge and creative power.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Brando the Jedi. And today we're going to be talking about Predator 2, one of my all-time favorites. This is a special film that is very unique and different from the first movie. Now, I can't say this is the greatest science fiction action film of all time, but I can say it's one of the greatest science fiction action film sequels of all time. There's only a handful of movies that I would consider cult classics that have good sequels. And this movie is definitely one of them. Terminator Judgment Day, RoboCop 2, Mad Max 2, Child's Play 2, Aliens. A lot of these movies that we consider cult classics were one and dones. It was only a handful of them that had sequels that were pretty good, and maybe a trilogy, but most of them, they weren't good at all. This movie came out in 1990, and it was directed by Stephen Hopkins, and it was produced by Lawrence Gordon, Joel Silver, and John Davis. This movie was made with a budget of $35 million. Just imagine if they made this movie in today's time, when they usually spend to $200 to $300 million on a regular movie, like the Marvels. With that kind of money, we could have had 10 Predator movies, but instead they want us to pray for more. Garbage! I think Predator 2 can be considered one of the coolest movies of all time, or at least one of the coolest sequels of all time. This movie stars Danny Glover, Mr. Lethal Weapon, and not just Danny Glover. This movie actually features some of the coolest actors from the 80s. I'm talking about actors like Gary Busey, who plays Peter Keyes in this movie, the FBI agent that's searching for the Predator. And a little fun fact, his son, Jake Busey, played the son of Peter Keyes in the 2018 Predator movie. This movie even has Ruben Blades, Maria Conchita Alonso, and Bill Paxton. Game over, man. Game over. He was pretty much like 80s and 90s royalty. Almost every movie he was in during that time period, you can almost guarantee was going to be a hit. But this movie also has Robert Davis, which most people will remember him from The Goonies as Jake Fratelli. And the list really does go on. Even Kevin Peter Hall came back to reprise his role as the Predator. And the Predator in this movie, he was the whole inspiration for the Concrete Jungle video game. And in my opinion, this is probably Danny Glover's greatest action film that he's ever made. And no, I haven't forgotten about Lethal Weapon or all the other classics that he has made, but this movie is just different. Even if I compare this movie to the first film, it didn't rely on nostalgia from Predator 1. This movie actually tried to bring something new to the table. You get to see the Predator in a different environment. You get to see the Predator going up against different enemies. You get to see the Predator use different weapons in this movie. I would actually argue that the Predator in this movie is way cooler than the Predator in the first one. And there's plenty of examples I can give you, like the technology. It's a complete upgrade from Predator 1. Rocket launcher on his wrist gauntlet, a net gun made of steel with steel bolts that tightens on impact, and he also has the Smart Disc, which is a glaive guillotine spiked disc that takes down multiple enemies and pretty much gives him the upper hand in any fight when he's using that weapon. And with Kevin Peter Hall coming back to portray the Predator, I would say makes this hunter even more believable on screen, because he's done this role before, he knows the movements, and when you're watching this movie on screen, you can see his dedication to the character through his mannerisms, and you can tell by how much he added on to this version of the Predator. This movie is absolutely amazing, and they just don't make them like this anymore. This movie's filled with action. This movie has sci-fi. This movie's a thriller. This movie has suspense. This movie even finds a way to add in its comedic moments. But I think I've given you enough info about Predator 2. So I think I should get into this movie and tell you what it's all about. This story begins with Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, a detective who stumbles upon something that he could have never imagined. A fucking alien. A Yautja, the city hunter that was compelled to come to Los Angeles through the tremendous violence and the uprising heat. And this time around, the Predator is more deadlier than ever. But our protagonist is a tough and determined cop, and unfortunately, he finds himself facing off against the deadly Predator in the urban streets of Los Angeles. Danny Glover's portrayal of Michael Harrigan is amazing, and for me, it's one of his most memorable roles. Harrigan is a skilled and resourceful leader, doing whatever it takes to protect his city and take down the Predator. It's a very exciting movie. Just imagine being a sequel to one of the greatest science fiction action movies of all time. But this wouldn't be an official Jedi review if I don't tell you my favorite part of the movie. And to be honest, one of my favorite scenes by far is the opening to this movie. It begins with a shot of a forest, giving you the illusion that it's going to be another jungle fight. But soon as that camera rises beyond the trees, you see the city of Los Angeles. And immediately, you come to the realization that this fight is no longer on the same playing field. The new battleground will be this concrete jungle. And that's one of the coolest openings in a movie, if you ask me. And if I had to choose one more scene, it would have to be towards the end, when he's had enough, and he goes after the Predator with everything he has, all alone. And you get to see what Lieutenant Mike Harrigan is really made of. And the finale of this movie will not disappoint you. And if you haven't seen this movie yet, I do recommend it. Go watch it right now, if possible. But that's all I got today for Predator 2. If you liked the video and you liked the information, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time with more movie news reviews.